You just don't like my answer. What she's really saying: I gave you a vague, illogical, or evasive response, and instead of explaining myself or being honest, I'm going to deflect by accusing you of being unreasonable for expecting clarity. Why this matters? Intelligent, mature men don't go into conversations trying to dislike answers. We're looking for answers that make logical sense, are consistent with the facts. Actually address the question being asked. When a woman says, "You just don't like my answer," she's doing one of two things. She's lying or hiding something. She knows the real answer would make her look bad, so she's giving you a surface-level response and hoping you'll accept it without digging deeper. She's intellectually lazy. She doesn't want to think critically about her own behavior, so she gives you word salad, a Miss America pageant answer, and expects you to be satisfied with it. Either way, she's making you the problem for expecting her to communicate like an adult. When you'll hear this, Scenario 1, the ex situation tutor. Why do you still talk to your ex? Her. We're just friends. It's not a big deal. You. But he's texting you late at night. That doesn't feel like just friends. Her. You just don't like my answer. What just happened? You asked a reasonable question. She gave a vague, dismissive response. You asked for clarification based on observable facts, late-night texts. She deflected by making you the problem. The real answer she's avoiding? I like the attention. He validates me. I'm keeping him as a backup option. I don't want to cut him off because it feels good to know he's still interested. But she can't say that. So instead, you just don't like my answer. Scenario 2, the male friends. Why do you have so many male friends if you're looking for a serious relationship? Her. I just get along better with guys. You. That doesn't explain why 5 different guys are constantly texting you. Her. You just don't like my answer. What just happened? You asked for clarity. She gave you a cliché that doesn't actually answer the question. You pointed out the inconsistency. She accused you of being the problem. The real answer she's avoiding. I like the attention. I like having options. These guys validate me, and I'm not ready to let that go. Scenario 3, the girls' night. That wasn't you. You said you were going out with the girls, but your Instagram shows you at the club with dudes. What's up with that? Her. They're just friends. We all went together. You. That's not what you told me earlier. You specifically said it was a girls' night. Her. You just don't like my answer. What just happened? You caught an inconsistency. She gave a defensive, evasive response. You pointed out that her story changed. She made you the bad guy for noticing. The real answer she's avoiding. I lied because I knew you wouldn't be comfortable with me going out with guys, and I didn't want to deal with that conversation. What this reveals. When a woman says, "You just don't like my answer," she's telling you she's hiding something. Her answer was incomplete, vague, or illogical. You asked reasonable follow-up questions. She doesn't want to give you the real answer because it would make her look bad. So she flips the script and makes you the problem. She's training you to stop asking questions. She's conditioning you to accept vague explanations, logical inconsistencies, evasive answers, lies by omission. And if you push back, you're controlling, you're insecure, you're not trusting her. No. You're expecting her to communicate like an adult in a relationship where honesty and clarity matter. She can't handle accountability. A woman who uses this phrase can't be held accountable because she refuses to engage with legitimate questions, instead of explaining herself clearly. Acknowledging the inconsistency, being honest even when it's uncomfortable, she makes you the villain for noticing something doesn't add up. The type of woman who says this has something to hide, usually involving other men, her past, or her behavior. Avoids accountability by deflecting. Expects you to accept surface-level answers without question. Uses emotional manipulation to shut down legitimate questions. Views your reasonable expectations as controlling behavior. Cannot or will not communicate with honesty and depth. What you do. If you're looking for a wife, when she says, "You just don't like my answer," respond calmly. It's not that I don't like your answer. It's that your answer doesn't make sense based on what I'm seeing. Help me understand. Watch what happens next. If she pauses, reconsiders, and gives you a real answer, she might have just been caught off guard and needs a moment to be honest. That's redeemable. If she gets more defensive, gaslights you, or shuts down, red flag. She's hiding something or incapable of honest communication. But if this becomes a pattern, if every time you ask for clarity, she accuses you of not liking her answer, you're dealing with someone who can't be honest. You cannot build a life with someone who evades questions, makes you the villain for expecting clarity, refuses to communicate openly. If you're casually dating, recognize that every conversation requiring honesty will be a battle. She'll gaslight you. She'll deflect. She'll make you feel crazy for asking reasonable questions. You'll spend more energy managing her evasiveness than actually building anything real. Don't invest in someone who can't be honest. The woman who says the opposite. You're right. Let me explain better. Here's what I meant. That's fair. I wasn't being clear. Let me give you the full picture. I see why that didn't make sense. Here's what actually happened. I should have been upfront about that. Here's the truth. These women don't deflect. They don't gaslight. They don't make you the problem for expecting honesty. They communicate like adults. This is the woman you can trust. This is the woman who will be honest when it's uncomfortable. This is the woman you can build with. The bottom line. When she says, "You just don't like my answer," what she's really saying is, "I'm not going to be honest with you, and I'm going to make you feel bad for noticing." That's not communication. That's manipulation. A woman who can't give you straight answers isn't ready to build a life with you. Listen to what she's reporting about herself, and keep it moving. The bottom line. Two things can be true is legitimate when acknowledging complexity, but when it's used to justify contradictions, avoid accountability, or gaslight you. She's telling you, "I expect you to accept whatever I say and do, even when it doesn't make sense. And if you push back, you're the one who lacks nuance." A woman who can't reconcile her contradictions isn't ready to build a life with you. Listen to what she's reporting about herself, and keep it moving.